increasingly is shifting into the digital space. We have in Interpol member countries like Singapore, I think they have 70% of all the crime reported to police is cyber crime or cyber-enabled crime. Here in Germany, I think the rate is much lower. It's around 6% only. But one of the reasons is that it's a highly underreported crime. So most of the incidents, perhaps around 80%, 90%, are not reported to the police. One thing has not been changing since I started as a young police officer, and that's the relevance, of course, the main resource for policing to run successful investigations, to prevent crime from happening, and information that increasingly sits outside your own jurisdiction. Information that sits in the cyberspace, and of course requires a new dynamic of police work, and of course requires close cooperation with the private sector, because increasingly the information sits with the private sector. And last remark, perhaps, the changes indeed that we see clearly in industrialization of crime, which is very different from the crime scene when I started as a young police officer, and that is a major concern, and again requires us to crack our silos and to stand together.
Wonderful, thank you. So, lower the barrier to allow cyber criminals to be able to build attacks pretty easily without any programming skills. And on the other side, we have cyber defenders like Fortinet, who has taken advantage of AI to build more intelligent, automated, and defense strategies. Now, what's your views on AI and how AI will support law enforcement in the future? What's your idea?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating, and I'm one of those who also tries to dive into this new area and get support and answers, and yeah, in all ways, and it's fascinating on one side, and we already see the benefit that AI will bring. On the other hand, you know, there's a lot of discussion about possible threats, and perhaps we are not yet at the stage where we fully understand the implications and the consequences. The only thing I can say from a law enforcement perspective is the criminals are already using AI. At the same time, where we, in governments, in the police, still discussing the conditions of using AI. So as a matter of resources, but primarily as a matter of responsible use of artificial intelligence. Police needs AI, not only because we have a lack of resources and the skills gap was mentioned, but also because we have massive information now to be handled, and without artificial intelligence we cannot investigate big data, we cannot investigate, and this is where AI already helps, the massive information that is available regarding online child sex exploitation, where Interpol is already using some AI tools to investigate this crime, to try to identify children who are victims of this heinous crimes, let's say. But at the same time, again, we are discussing the conditions of using AI. The criminals don't have that discussion. They simply invest, they have the resources, and they start doing it. And again, that is what I mean in terms of industrializing criminal activity. Business email compromising, phishing emails, the deepfakes.
Cybercrime as a service.
You know that. And cybercrime as a service, which is organized crime, 4.0, totally different from the traditional kind of drangheta type of crime. And the dynamic really is a threat to our society. So we need to work to use AI, but we have to do it under a certain regulation, legal framework, and that takes time, unfortunately. And we hope that the private sector will also help us in developing these tools that law enforcement needs.
And you mentioned this morning that you know about academies for cybercrime people. So also on the awareness and training side, just to wrap up, AI will come in help there.
Fundamentally important. Ken mentioned the Fortinet Academy this morning. I had the privilege to visit some 150 countries in the 10 years of being Secretary General of Interpol. I haven't met a single police chief who would have said, Jürgen, I'm sufficiently resourced, I have enough people, I have enough technology. There's a huge skills gap within policing, and my dream is to join trainings. So Fortinet Academy, Interpol Academy, let's do it together. We can only benefit from each other, and we build trust, and that is an important condition to work together.
That's a wonderful way to end the chat this morning. We're right out of time. I could stay here for hours chatting, but thank you again, Jürgen, for your time. It's been wonderful.